This podcast was recorded on traditional Denizal land.
Hi there and welcome to this episode of Before the Peace. My name is Chris Walker. I'm the interim host for this podcast. You may know me from the afternoons on 100.1 Moose FM, where I actually run the station as the program director as well. Now, on this episode, I sat down with Lisa Wolf and Treylen Knott from Prophet River First Nation to learn more about their upcoming youth camps and their youth advisory council. Before we get into the episode, though, I do have some housekeeping. As always, we'd love to invite you to be a part of the show. And if you want to send us a message or a question, or if you want to be a part of it, email beforethepeace@energeticcity.ca or go to energeticcity.ca/beforethepeace. Either way, we'd love to hear from you. Also, let's send a shout out to our sponsors, shall we? This podcast wouldn't be possible without the help of Troyer Ventures. They've been serving our community and the energy industry with tank and vac trucks since the year 2000. They're built on the principles of hard work, service, and community, and they're proud to offer financial support to make this program possible. Also, a huge thank you to our other sponsor, the Fort St. John Co-op. Fort St. John Co-op is locally owned cooperative in Fort St. John, and the co-op's primary focus is providing premium lubricants and petroleum products to its members and owners. It regularly donates to local charities and organizations. Now on to the episode with Lisa Wolf and Treylen Knott. Here we are. This is my first podcast as host of Before the Peace. I'm sure that if people have been listening in, they're used to Trey's voice. I'm not nearly as deep voiced as Trey, but I will do what I can. And I really want to welcome Lisa Wolf and Treylen Knott from Prophet River First Nation. And we're going to talk about the youth, the camps, the culture. But first, Lisa, I'll throw to you. Let's talk about Prophet River First Nation. Where is it? Like for people that are listening in that aren't from the area, that aren't a member of Prophet River, what can you tell us about Prophet River, where it is, where it's located?
So Prophet River is about 100 kilometers south of Fort Nelson and basically mile 233 on the famous Alaska Highway. It's pretty much right on the side of the highway. Mm-hmm. It's like there's signs there for the location. And
do you drive through it? If we were to head north, we're going to Alaska on a big road trip. You've got to drive right through the middle of Prophet River. That's beautiful.
You're going to see a beaver on the side of the road there, and like the signs, and
not the same one that's like. Is it a sister of the one down in Beaver Lodge?
Sure. It's pretty much like its cousin for sure.
Okay. I like the cousin.
Yeah.
When we're talking about you guys being right outside of Fort Nelson, then with the fires earlier this year, you were definitely affected. Can you guys, either of you, I mean, Treylen, I'm sure that you've got stories as well. Tell me how the fires affected Prophet River, what you guys had to do, and where you ended up.
Well, it definitely affects the community members, especially in Fort Nelson when everyone had to evacuate. So everyone was on alert. Like Prophet River wasn't too, like so much on alert as Fort Nelson where they had to leave their homes. It was more just being on that alert system. But it is scary because the forests are so close and you have to be ready and just ready to go on a moment's notice. So.
Yeah. And again, for anybody listening that hasn't had to deal with evacuations or fires, these notices can come in at 2 p.m. if you're lucky, but 2 a.m. if you're not. And it's quite a startling thing to be woken up and said, hey, by the way, pack your bags. Exactly. We need to leave. So the members of Prophet River, where did you guys end up relocating and evacuating to? If they had to evacuate and if they were lucky enough to stay, did they help shelter family and friends?
They did actually help shelter some Fort Nelson evacuees, and a majority of them were just on alert, like at Prophet River, just waiting around, just like, if they had to leave on
with a big cautionary note saying, okay, be ready, because again, you never know when the call is going to come in. Treylen, how was your experience? I mean, again, for anybody to be woken up and be told, hey, get ready to go, sure, but like your friends, how did you guys take that?
Well, luckily I live in town.
So okay.
deal with that.
Yeah.
But I do feel bad for the elders in the community, and especially my auntie, because I know it's really hard on their lungs.
Yeah. Oh, God love the aunties. I love them so much. But I mean, I think that's a great point, right? Like, we're here to talk about mostly youth, but full shout out to the elders. They're the torchbearers. They're the ones that are passing down the cultures and the stories and everything else. So, I mean, I'm sure Prophet River First Nation, like so many others, not just a huge amount of respect for the elders of the community, but constantly asking and striving to do better for the elders, be it through fires or even the healthiest of seasons, is how can we make their lives better. So good for you guys. I'm glad that you weren't evacuated, and I'm really glad that things kind of settled out before we had a Jasper situation up here in the north, right? It's horrible. With the effect of the fires, there's obviously news and there's postings through your Facebook page. And Lisa, you and I were kind of talking before we turned the microphones on that the Prophet River Facebook page is a great place to go. But your website as well has a lot of different news postings, events, jobs. It's a beautiful website, but even the website goes to show the importance of the youth in your community. And we were talking about what we're going to assume are your nephews. Shout out to them. What's their names?
Malachi and Remington.
Malachi and Remington, possibly on the website, even drumming at, like, can we say they're 6, 7 years old in these pictures?
Yes.
I mean, how important is it that the youth be involved in drumming and cultural events? How important is that to you?
It's very important. Like, it's so important that the culture camps that we're having, like, there's drum making, to hand games, to learning how to drum and do the hand games at the same time, or just the actual spiritual drumming songs, like the Dreamer songs. Those ones are very important to our culture. So I believe that by showing that or learning from the drummers, these youth can definitely benefit for their future and pass that culture on for sure.
Treylen, we're gonna swap over to you for a second here, and we're not that we don't want to talk about the culture or talk about the dreamers or the drummers, but all of this kind of culminates with the camps that you guys do. We're talking about the youth and passing on these amazing pieces of culture and heritage and games and sport and music. So I think that these camps is a great way to be able to do that, to get youth interested. And one of the big ones coming up, well, why don't you tell me about it?
It's an arts camp at the Sickany Ranch. We're going to have musical stuff. We have beading. We have some art, photography, like a lot of stuff. And it's open to all Native youth. Mm-hmm. Which is really, like, my favorite aspect about this, is that we get to share what we do with the rest of the community, not just ours.
When does this take place, Treylen?
August 11th, so this Sunday till the 17th.
Okay. And either of you can answer these questions, I guess. We said that it is open to the community, so you don't need to be from Prophet River in order to take part?
That's right. So it's open to other communities as well, and we're pretty much getting up there. Like, the more sponsors, the more youth we can
Of course
add to that list.
So hypothetically, then, are we still looking for sponsors?
Well, I have 3 sponsors so far. So,
Okay,
yeah,
so
it's pretty good.
we'll take more, though. If somebody wants to sponsor, if there's a business out there that maybe they happen to hear this after the camp ends, there will be more camps. This is coming back again next year, we hope. How can they reach out and say, hey, we want to be a sponsor of this, we want to be involved?
Definitely our Prophet River Facebook page or whatever posters that are up. Contact us. Yeah, get a hold of us somehow. My name's on the Facebook page, Lisa Wolf, and all the information there, and I'm there to help with any questions or concerns.
Works for me. Sorry, getting back to the camp, can we get into some of the things that you guys are going to be doing? Like, for instance, you mentioned there's going to be a beading. There's going to be, I'm just looking at the schedule here. There's going to be morning yoga and workshops throughout the day. Let's start with beading. When we talk about it, again, I've seen the art, I've seen the earrings, I've seen the different pieces. But what is beading to the Denishaw and First Nations of Northern BC? How important is it? What's the cultural significance there?
And just it's important to like what you're wearing. Like for example, my mom makes like vests with beaded like little flowers. It's the shape of the beads, how it's portrayed on the artwork, the earrings, jewelry, basically medallions. It's just a good way of expressing their art, their talent, and how they can.
And like I said, I mean, I've seen art pieces that range from your earrings, which lovely, but I've seen them as large as like 12 inches by 12 inch art pieces, and some maybe even bigger than that. So are we teaching kids how to bead, or are we pushing the knowledge that they already have at these camps? Is this a starter camp, or is this more of an intermediate? Is this an advanced camp?
It's more like basically take the art and express yourself with it.
Okay.
Kind of situation.
Okay, so it's all levels. It doesn't matter if this is your first time beading or your 101st. You're invited to show up. You're invited to bead. What are some of the other things that we said were going to be happening? Not just beading, but
Music production. That one, I really, really am excited for. We have a Ukrainian fellow coming in for that. That's going to be my...
it's the one that you're looking forward to the most.
Yeah.
But when we talk about music production, like here in studio, in radio, music production could be everything from writing the song, recording the song, making it shorter, changing around the music that's currently there. So, Treylen, can you give me more examples, or can you fine tune this a little bit for the kids that are out there listening, or the parents that are out there listening, with what music production actually means? Are you writing the songs? Are you recording the songs?
We're going to go more of the audio engineering route.
Ooh, see, my nerdiness just peaked up. This is what I did in school. So like, I mean, I am nerding out here. What are you hoping to teach the kids? What are we going to break them through?
Just really like being able to get to the point where you can create without help.
Okay.
To get to a point where, let's say you have band labs or something, you could at least know what you're doing to make something.
So if they wanted to sit down and make a small song for themselves, they can sit down, learn how to record a guitar, a drum kit, learn how to record the voice, put it all together, clean it up, and boom, you're teaching kids how to make music from start to finish. That's really neat. So music production, beading, optional morning yoga. Who, respectfully, clearly, these kids live a much different life than me. But when I was 8, 9, 10 years old, even into my teens, there's no part of me that woke up and said, you know what? Yoga is probably a good start to the day. It was energy drinks, coffees, and I don't know, TV. Tell me about the yoga. Where did this come from? Who's hosting it? And why do you think that it's important to put something like that into a youth arts camp?
She's local from Fort St. John, and she loves helping others find movement like in their bodies. So yeah, I think these sessions are like in the mountains. It's like basically meditating, like just setting that day, setting the scene, I guess, relaxing, just opening up that, I don't know, what do you want to call it, chakra, I guess?
Yeah, sure.
I just basically manifesting what they can do with their art production throughout the day within the workshops, and just get them relaxed, and morning yoga, evening yoga. So
listen.
it sounds relaxing, right?
Again, older me, much different story than 13-year-old me. Totally get it. But I guess when it comes to these youth art camps, it's important to remember that it's not just about the art. It is about, a bit of spirituality in there as well, and making sure that, again, it's culture based, and it's all inclusive more than anything else. We're talking about movie nights, horseback riding, open art spaces, s'more making. Again, now we're in my realm. When we're at the Sickney Ranch and horseback riding, is there anything that stands out to either of you about the trails, the ranch itself? Do you guys have memories growing up and horseback riding out through the mountains? Tell me a bit about the horseback riding and some of the adventures that kids are going to go on throughout the week.
For me, it's definitely grounding for sure. It's just you getting back on the land, and that's our history. That's how we traveled back then. So it's definitely keeping that perspective of just staying grounded. You're out the mountains. This is how we're going to go and hike if we want, go on horseback. It's almost like majestic in a sense.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Treylen, I feel like you had something to add. You immediately pointed over at Lisa, and I don't know if you were trying to like pass the buck and go, no, I don't want to talk about horseback riding.
It's beautiful out there, though. Like the trails, I mean, it would be worth the time to definitely do that. And unfortunately, I'm not that interested in the horseback ride.
Sure. When it comes to being a youth committee member, were you involved in any of these camps growing up as well, or were you kind of brought into it at a later time?
I'm actually a founding member of the youth committee. We're very new. Within the last year or so, we started.
Okay, and tell me about the youth committee then. Why was that so important that you guys started this, and what's your end goal for the committee?
Well, my personal goal with it is just to help the youth that are struggling with other problems to get out of the house and enjoy something. I just want to be able to help them. I've seen this fellow that we met when we were meeting with another youth committee down south, Curtis. He's kind of like me. I just want to help the more troubled youth get into other things.
Yeah, use that anger, that energy in more creative, more arts forms. Like you say, music is such a fantastic outlet for that. And I'm so glad that you guys are able to come together and put these things on for the youth. Are there any other camps that we should keep on our radar? We were talking about treaty days and hunting camps. Can you guys tell us a bit about those?
So the Treaty Days camp starts on August 19th, and that's at Trutch, close to Prophet. So it's another about half an hour to 45-minute drive from the Sickening Ranch. But yeah, it takes place right after that. So it's like back-to-back culture camps. It's our last month. It's like, end of season. So this is perfect time, like berry picking, hunting. So it's going to be great for keeping that culture alive for those.
So what would be the difference then between the Treaty Days and this youth arts camp that you guys are doing if they're back-to-back?
So it's basically jumping in from one to the other. This is more arts-based.
Okay.
So the other one is more like culture. We're going to sit together, storytelling, trying to keep the culture alive by hunting and gathering, fishing, games. It's going to be fun. It's going to be great.
Which, bouncing all over the place here, you mentioned games and a while ago. You mentioned, I believe it was hand games. Can either of you, Treylen, if you don't mind, what are hand games? You mentioned that you're good at basketball. That uses hands. Does that count?
So behind your back, I forgot like the rules, but you switch a rock between your hands, and then when the time goes, the player you're playing against picks which hand you open it. If they have a rock, they get a stick for their team. Whichever team has the most sticks at the end wins.
I love it. I mean, I'm fairly I don't have, God, I wish I came more prepared. I'd have something so that we could try it. But yeah, right. I mean, we've got enough pens around. I don't have a rock, nothing that I could hide in the palm of my hand. But I mean, like you say, it's clearly cultural based. This is something else that's been passed down for a while. Are you any good at it, or
I've been to a few tournaments myself, actually.
Ooh, have you won any?
Unfortunately,
but you could still kick my butt. That's how this works, right?
It's a little bit of luck, but probably.
No, if I were a bet man, I'd say yes. You can absolutely kick my tail.
There's definitely like a dance to it too. So it's kind of tricking your opponents and kind of like having that dance. My son actually won second place at our last camp, and with their team, and their team name was Future Chief and Council. Isn't that funny?
That's really funny, actually.
Cool though, right?
That's
so, yeah.
so we're moving on from the youth arts camp to the treaty days. We're talking about all the different things that are going to be happening there. Tea dances, I'm sure, are going to be included in treaty days. Those are always so much fun. Sitting down, just being able to chat with the elders. Can you talk to me about some of the other things that are going to be happening at treaty days, like leather working, hide working? I don't know. You guys walk me through it.
Yeah, it definitely could be like from whoever gets the moose or the elk or whatever, to skinning to, making dry meat with the meat. So it's definitely smoking kind of business, like when you have to have that fire pit going all the time. So there's like a little section for like moose camp, and then there's a section for regular fire, tea dancing. So it's definitely all involved.
In talking about whoever happens to get the moose or the elk, treaty days happening August 23rd to 25th. Hunting camp starts 19th to the 22nd. I'm assuming these are tied in then. You get the catch from the hunting camp, whatever meat is I'm trying to find a better way without using the word killed, but nothing is really coming to mind. The meat that is harvested, can we use that? From hunting camp will be used in treaty days. So like one leads into the next, leads into the next. Who plans this? Like, to me, this is so well planned and it's so well timed. Like, is this one or two people that just said, we've been doing this for years and it's kind of the same time and place every year? Or is it someone that like actually sits down and says, okay, well, I think that a good week to be hunting this year would be this week, therefore treaty days happens after? How does this get planned out?
They just plan it out, and people just show up and collaborate, and whoever's there is hunting. Like it just all seems to fall into place, basically.
It just flows so well. Again,
hopefully, fingers crossed.
I suppose that's all hypothetically. It flows so well, but again, here at Moose FM, Energetic City, anytime we try to plan something, you could plan as much as you want, but plans fall apart very quickly. So it amazes me that there's so much thought and it's so well planned and so well designed, and it's fate. It's the universe saying, no, you're going to hunt here. Immediately after that, it's going to be treaty days. Immediately after that is, but again, I guess that's culture, right?
It's the coordinating work. Yes, definitely people's job for sure.
Treaty days, hunting camp, continuing culture and education for the youth, so important. And a while ago, we were talking about the Deneza word of the day. This is something that Prophet River First Nation's been doing on their Facebook page, and I'm scrolling down to try and find some. Tell me a bit about that, Lisa.
So the word of the day is to just promote, and share to the members or whoever's wanting to learn that word of the day. It's keeping that language alive. It's showing you how to pronounce it, even to the dialect, to how to basically just speak in the language.
And I know that there are other ways that you've been working, and by you, I do mean Prophet River, to keep the language alive, especially for the youth, again, in schools and in different camps. Are there any words that you wouldn't mind teaching us?
So we would say hello. I would say Jahanisha, and my name is Lisa Wolf. I would say Sibucho. I'm fine, thank you very much.
Okay. Take me through hello very slowly. Pretend, and you don't have to pretend very hard. Pretend like you're talking to me. Okay. How would I say it? Keep it real slow for me.
So it'd be Jahanisha.
Jahanisha.
Yes.
Treylen, are you learning anything here as well, or are you aware of most of this?
I know something.
Okay.
Just, very little.
Oh, you know what? If we can learn together, we're here to learn together. So Jahanisha, and my name is?
My name is Lisa Wolf, and I would say Sibucho. I'm fine.
Sibujo?
Yes.
For I'm fine?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. And the only one that Trail has really taught me that I've managed to stick with is, I think the translation is, I'm glad you came. Sinejigeneya. Is that, how off am I?
That sounds really good.
That sounds really. Oh, there you go.
And so
I'll
like
take.
Bucho would be like, thank you, you know.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay. I
definitely.
like it.
Yeah.
Is this something that you guys at Prophet River are hoping to continue? I know that we were talking about. Unfortunately, this kind of started up, and then mid-May, weirdly about the time that these fires started, it kind of ended. Like it didn't really continue. Is this something that you guys are hoping to continue?
Definitely, it'll be picked back up for sure. It's just that season. It's like everyone's camping, everyone's so. Yeah,
Absolutely. So hopefully, early fall we'll be able to get back into it, and we'll start learning the Denizal language.
it will. I have faith in it.
As do
Yes.
I. Is there anything else that you guys would like to talk about the camps, about Prophet River that maybe we haven't been able to touch on?
I would say getting everyone back together and flowing, you know, like everyone's doing their own thing. It's bringing the families back together instead of being separated on and off reserve. So it's definitely trying to just push that and keep that culture, again, keep that culture perspective alive and coming back to the land. I think that's the best possible answer for that.
Treylen, as a youth committee member, is there anything else that you would like to talk about before we start to wrap things up here?
Recently, me and my cousin, who's also a youth committee member, we sat in on an elders gathering, and I feel like being able to be invited to things like that just from being in a youth committee role has really helped me learn more about my community, and I hope for more opportunities like that.
Without getting into too many details or sharing someone else's stories, is there something that stands out to you that you've taken away from that? I mean, it's one thing to say that it was an amazing experience to sit there and chat with the elders and be able to listen, but is there a lesson that you've taken away? Is there
Gotta get
something?
dark on it? I'll like,
Be as real as you want, man.
I'm from town. I don't really see a lot. Elders don't tend to talk about their past, but just going back 3 generations, the amount of residential school survivors in the community around this area is absolutely absurd. And I'm just realizing how lucky some of my family members were.
It's wild that we don't know our own history until we actually chat with someone. I grew up in a and when I say this is going to piss some people off, I mean, it really will. I grew up in a town in northern Newfoundland, and one of our most famous residents, I suppose, his name is Dr. Wilford Grenfell. He's a man who started up a lot of stores. He's a man who started up a lot of hospitals. His name is on universities and streets and this and that. And it was only when I moved to northern Canada and started chatting with residential schools and survivors that his name popped up in a non-kind way, in that he was a part of taking kids to residential schools and to orphanages. I almost said orphanariums. Taking kids to orphanages back in the day, and it's this weird thing where it's the people that we grew up to idolize were so entrenched in it. So I can't imagine what it's like being on the other end and just, the elders of the community, they're always great. They're so filled with wisdom, but then to have those stories and to carry that weight and carry that burden, that must be insane. So again, we're talking about carrying on the culture and the language, but I think these stories are so important to share as well. So good for you guys for being able to sit down with the elders and even though it's a heavy conversation, I mean, being included in that, it's all about the education, and you can't just learn the good. Sometimes you've got to learn the bad. Can we go off of that a little bit for those of us who are not part of Prophet River, who are not part of First Nations? How can we continue to help, I guess, in reconciliation in so many different ways, but how can we help push and teach cultures and languages and have these conversations with elders? Is there something that you guys can think of that anybody here in Fort St. John, regardless of culture, creed, race, or religion, we can do to help? And I know that's such a big question, such a loaded question. I'm sorry for springing it on you, but again, I think that this is such a great conversation that we should be having.
It's just that cultural awareness again. It just touches base with what's going on, and if you're aware of it, then it's there, right? So if we can keep that in mind and have that knowledge for people who are interested, I think that would be great.
Treylen, anything that you'd like to add as someone who just sat with a bunch of elders and spoke about these things?
I just want the topic to be more respected, especially in the north. It's hard to get through some people, and it's kind of disgusting seeing how people joke about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like my only ask.
Be kind to each other. Continue to learn. Continue to be a part of it. Guys, thank you so much. If people want to learn more about, we'll start with you again, Treylen. If people want to learn more about your youth committee, how they can be involved and what is involved in it, is there a Facebook page, a website? Can they reach out to you directly? How can people learn more about the youth committee at Prophet River?
I think we have most of our events on the Prophet River Facebook page.
Okay. So just straight through the Facebook page, a great way to go, eh?
Yeah.
Love it. Lisa, anything from you, if people, again, for any of these camps, be it the hunting camp, the treaty days, if someone wanted to reach out to you directly for a sponsorship of one of these camps, how can someone do that?
They can find my name on the Facebook page, and under the poster sections, like you would see like youth camp and my name, and email is underneath that section. So I'm definitely available. I'm totally up for any sponsorship for next year. Even the more the merrier. Like the more sponsorship we can get, the more students we can get out there. Or, I mean, the youth or other community members from the surrounding areas. So it would definitely be more like next year.
Can I ask if there's a specific amount? And I know that it's hard to put maybe a dollar value on this, but like if I showed up and said, hey, listen, I'm willing to sponsor $200. Does that get a kid through the week, or does that get 10 kids through the week?
It depends. Like it would definitely help with like say one of the meals during the day. That's for sure. Or it could help with like games and like, prizes, those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
It would definitely help. Any kind of amount would help. And if it was late in the season, then we'd have that pot for next year. So, more facilitators, more art, whatever they choose. Like, because it was the youth that chose this kind of the youth arts camp, right? So, yeah.
I love it. Lisa, thank you so much for coming in. Thank you so much for bringing Treylen. Thank you guys so much for continuing to work with the youth, for the working towards the preservation of culture, language, arts, and so much more. And please, the next time you guys have something coming up, let us know, and we'll be happy to share with the audience.
Thank you so much for having us. Great opportunity to meet us out there.